Welcome Year 7s to this first video tutorial on the topic of decimals. We're going to start today's class looking at decimal place value. Our learning intentions: that I will learn the place value of digits after the decimal point, to order and compare decimal numbers, to convert proper fractions and mixed numbers to decimals when the denominators are of powers of 10. And we'll know that we can do this when we can state the value of a digit after the decimal point in a number. We're able to order and compare two or more numbers written as decimals, and we'll be able to convert fractions to decimals if their denominators are powers of 10, such as 10, 100, 1000, etc. The key ideas for today: we probably already know, but the decimal point is used to separate the whole number from the decimal or fraction part. When dealing with decimal numbers, the place value table must be extended to involve both tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and so forth. So an example here, we've got the number 428.357. So we'll notice a decimal point here. So all the numbers to the right hand side of that decimal point are the decimal or fraction component. We know our normal units, tens, hundreds, etc. as we go up on the left hand side of our decimal point. And now we're looking at the tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and so forth as we move towards the right hand side after the decimal point. So that is the structure of what a decimal looks like. The questions you'll need to do are from Cambridge: questions 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, and 10 as shown here. We'll now have a look at some of the questions and how we would go about actually answering them. The questions shown here are taken directly from the questions previously mentioned. However, some will be changed or modified so they're not exact copies of the questions that you'll need to complete. But what we'll look at here is how to go about presenting your answers. So question 2 looks something like this: what is the value of the digit 6 in the following numbers? So it's asking us to identify where the 6 is in the number, such as here, and then to tell us which place value that it has. So in this particular case, the number 6 is the first number to the right of the decimal place, so that means that it is 1/10, or we could say it is the tenths. Right. The second example here is our 6, so it is the third number to the right hand side of the decimal point, so that would be tenths, hundredths, that would be 1000ths, so 1/1000, or thousandths. Question 3. It's asking us to state whether each of the following statements is either true or false. So while the answer again is expecting just a true or false, we expect to see some form of working out. So at the very least, we need to look at this question and write it out if need be in our books. We've got 7.24. It's saying, is it less than 7.18? So in this case, our units are both the same. Therefore, 7. The first value directly after the decimal point is a 2, and then a 1. So the question is the 2 less than the 1? Is having 2 tenths less than having 1/10? And we should be able to realize that that is incorrect, so the answer here would be false. In our second example, again, our units happen to be the same. If we look at the 6 and the 5, the number straight after the decimal place, we've got 6/10 on the left hand side, and on the right hand side we've got 5/10. And the question is asking us, is the number on the left greater than the number on the right? So is having 6/10 greater than having 5/10? It is, so this one would be true. Question 4 asks us to express each of the following proper fractions as a decimal. So here we have in question A 3/10. So the decimal place, the very first number on the right of the decimal place is our tenths value, so that would be a 3. When writing a decimal, we always have to have something to the left of the decimal point. In this case, we do not have any whole values, so we have to put a 0. Alright, so we cannot have just a decimal place by itself. We have to have at least something to the left-hand side. Part C, we've got 15/100ths. We have our decimal place. We're trying to put this into the 100ths, so that's not the first but the second space after the decimal place. But we can't put the number 15 in there, can we? So we have to carry, just like we carry in other forms of equation. So we'll carry the whole tenth into there, and we'll put the 5 in there. So this is our 15/100ths. So think about tenths being in this first one here, and the 5 in the hundredths there. Okay, and again we need to still have something on the left hand side, so we put our 0 in there. Question 5 asks us to express each of the following mixed numerals as a decimal. So it's similar to question 4, but now we have some whole number components, the 6 and the 212 in this case. So we'll start with the whole number, the 6 in this case, so that's going to be to the left hand side of the decimal place because it's a whole value. And then we have 4 tenths left, so that 4 is going to end up on the right hand side. For C, we've got 212 as a whole number, so that's on the left hand side of our decimal point. And again we have 3 tenths here, so we're going to have a 3 going in straight after the decimal place. Question 8 asks us to arrange the group of numbers in ascending order. So remember, ascending is smallest to largest. This is something people sometimes forget to pay attention to. So if we have a look, we'll start with our whole numbers. So the first number has 40, then a 4, and another 40. So our two smallest numbers are going to be these two here. But they both have a 4 as the whole number, so we now have to look at the first decimal position to see which one is bigger. So the first number has a 0 in the tenths column, and the second number has a 6 in the tenths column. So if we are going from smallest to largest, we would certainly start with 4.06 being the smallest, then 4.6 being the second smallest. We now need to look at the 40.6 and 40.4, these two here. So again, they've both got 40 at the beginning, so we're now looking at the 6 here and the 4 here. So it's pretty obvious that the 4 is smaller than the 6, so we would end up with 40.4 and then 40.6. So looking carefully again, we have units being the same here, but the tens are in order, and then we have units being the same here, but the tenths are in order there as well. So they are now in order. Question 9. This is where we get a bit of problem solving happening. So it says the average score for 5 students are for Jane 38.60, Jenny 61.06, Ben 23.49, Sally 50.56, and Jeff 47.51. Now the first part asks us to list the 5 players in ascending order, that is again smallest to largest. So really what we're asked to do here is to put those 5 scores in ascending order. So let's have a look at them. Looking at our whole numbers first, we can clearly see that this one here has a 23, and that is the smallest number. So we're going to start with 23.49 being the smallest one. Let's cross it off so we know we have used it. If we now look for the next smallest number, we have 38 here. So we're going to have 38.60. Let's cross it off. Looking for the next number would be 47.51. We then have 50.56. I've had to go to the next line just for space, crossing it off, and 61.06 being the last number. So we've got them now in order, but the question actually asks us to list the 5 players. So technically now I need to put the names in order. So what I have is the order of the scores, so I'll just compare them. So the 23.49 was Ben, so the first person would be Ben, followed by Jane, followed by Jeff, followed by Sally, and then followed by Jenny. So while technically the question only asks us for the names, listing the players, I would certainly expect to see somewhere that you've listed the scores in order to make sure that you've got the names then in order. B asks us to find out where Joe's average goes, because it says Joe's average is 56.72. So 56.72, if we look at our list up here, it would end up in this space here. All right, it would come into this space here because it's higher than 50.56, but it is less than 61.06. So Joe's score would go into this space here. So how would we explain this? There's a few different ways, but I think we need to talk about the place he would be. So we've got place 1, 2, 3, 4. That would put him 5th out of 6. So I might write something like he would be 5th out of 6. Another option might be saying he would be 2nd highest. And question 10 asks us to have a look at some river depths. So the river depths at 11 a.m. on 6 consecutive days were day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I won't read them out. You can read them yourself. Now some words here are highlighted that might make them important, so we'll just keep an eye on that. So it says which day had the lowest depth. So again, the best thing to do at this point is to put each of them in order. So looking at these, we have 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 for their whole numbers. So every day had a whole number of 2. So that doesn't help us put them in order. We then look at their first decimal place. So I've got a 6 for the first day, a 6 for day 2, a 5 for day 3, so that's looking good, a 5 though for day 4, another 6 and another 6. So our lowest number is either going to be day 3 or day 4. So we now have to look at the second decimal place of those. So in the second decimal place for day 3 we have a 9, and on day 4 we have a 7. 7 being smaller than 9 is going to make that our smallest number. So I'm not going to write the actual numbers at this time. I am just going to write day 4 down here. That would make day 3 the next smallest. So now let's keep putting them in order. I'm going to cross them out again just to make sure I know I've done them. So now going back to all these other ones that had a 6 for the first decimal place, looking at the second decimal place, I've got a 3, an 8, a 2 and a 1. Well, 1's obviously the smallest, so that's going to be day 6 going there, followed by day 5, which had a 2 in that second decimal place, followed by day 1, which has a 3 in the second decimal place, and followed by day 2 as our last one. So the order of our days from lowest to highest depth is 4, 3, 6, 5, 1, 2. So to answer the question more accurately or clearly, day 4 has the lowest. That's what I'd be looking for. Now, which day has the highest? Well, Well, we've already ordered them in part A, so we now know that day 2 has the highest step, so we don't have to reorder them. We can just write out our answer. Day 2 has the highest. So nice and easy. We've already done the hard lifting in part A. Part C says, on which days was the river level higher than previous days? Now that question takes a little bit of thinking about. On which days was the river level higher than on a previous day? So we're looking for at least a set of 2 days where the day after is higher than the first day. But they have to be consecutive. Day 4 is our lowest day. Day 3 was higher than it, but it's not on a previous day. It would have to be the other way around. It would have to be 3 then 4. Day 6 was followed by day 5. So they're not consecutive, so it doesn't work there either. But here we have day 1 happening, and then the next day being day 2 is bigger. So because you look at the order of them here, day 1 happens, and then day 2 does happen after it, and it is bigger. All right, so let's look at the actual numbers. Day 1 was 2.63 up here, and day 2 is 2.68, definitely bigger. So on which days? Days 1 and 2, simple as that. And that concludes a sample of how to do these questions. You may want to watch back through these a few times. And again, I apologise for my writing. It is quite messy on this device. Hopefully I can improve that in the future. Thanks for watching.